Hi guys, Nathan here, and for the past 10 years or so, I've been pretty much solidly a console gamer. So when I made the switch recently to PC, I found certain things very difficult, particularly in one of my favourite games, Battlefield 4. So today I thought I'd share with you some of my experiences and some of the tips to make the transition easier for you guys if you decide to switch as well. So firstly, I'd like to start with one of the big differences between the two platforms, and that is the fact that on PC, you don't have standardised hardware between different players. So what I mean by that is, if you've got a PS4 or an Xbox One or whatever, everybody that you're playing against also has a PS4 and Xbox One, and it is just as good as yours, no better, no worse. On PC, that is completely different. Somebody can have a better CPU than you, a better GPU than you, SSD when you've got a hard drive, all that kind of stuff, and it does make a difference to the game. So if you want to be a better player, you have to make sure your hardware is doing the right stuff. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a new $2,000 graphics card or anything like that. I'm just saying make sure you're getting the right performance out of the hardware that you already have. So what I mean by this is changing your settings in-game in order to give you the greatest advantage. Now, if you look in the top left corner of the video, you'll see a little counter, and that is the frame rate counter, so the number of frames per second I'm seeing. Now, in order to get more frames per second, you turn the graphical quality down in your settings, or to get less, you turn them up. Now, for me, having a look at that counter, that seems a bit too high for me, especially since I only have a 60Hz monitor, so I can only see in 60 frames per second anyway. So I could probably personally do with turning those settings up a bit and seeing some of the beautiful graphics that Battlefield 4 has. Now, on some machines I might only be getting 40 FPS, and I would need to turn it down in order to get those extra frames per second, and they really do benefit you. They just allow you to see that enemy that split second sooner and maybe win that fight when you need to. So I would highly recommend finding your own FPS sweet spot and changing your settings so that you hit it, just to give you the greatest advantage in-game. The only piece of hardware that I would recommend actually going out and buying something better is the mouse. That does really make a difference. Now, personally, I'm not bothered about all this DPI stuff or anything like that. I just want something that feels good in my hand, allows me to be accurate, and is responsive when I need it to be. Now, for me, I've got a Razer DeathAdder 2013, and I love that mouse, but that is just personal preference. I think it's great, the quality's really good, and it allows me to do well in game, but you guys might find it terrible, and it really does just come down to what works for you. Moving on from the hardware side of things anyway, I would highly recommend that you have a look at your sensitivity settings in-game. Now, I know that this is available on console as well, but as there is no aim assist on the PC, it really does mean that much more that you get your sensitivity just right. Now, you can have a little play around with this in the test range and see what seems to work for you, but personally, I think you can only really find out if your aim's on by actually playing in-game, probably domination or team deathmatch, just to get that instant action, those 4 or 5 guys all in a row, so you can see if you can actually hit them. Talking of the test range though, I have personally found it invaluable in getting used to the control system on the PC. I was so entrenched in the using a controller sort of mindset that it took me several hours just to get used to moving around on a keyboard. It still feels a little bit weird to me, but I am slowly getting there, and it's partially due to the test range. On the subject of controls, one of the things that I found really helped me was changing some of the key bindings. Now, I've barely done anything really, but as you can see here, I've mapped my melee and grenade buttons to my mouse, so I don't even have to move my hand physically on the keyboard to do those things, which just really helps in those tight situations when you need to do something quickly. Part of my mind also says that I should add my pistol to one of those buttons instead of the knife or something like that, just so that in a tight spot I can get my pistol out and finish off a kill. But you can find a setup that works for you, and if you have more than 2 additional mouse buttons like I do, then you can add countless things to the mouse and almost never have to use your keyboard for anything other than moving around. Moving on anyway, we all know that if you're communicating with your team on Battlefield, you're likely to do better than if you're just Ramboing it on your own. Now, on console, in order to properly communicate with your team at all, you have to really be on voice comms with them, because that chat in the top left corner is pretty much useless. Yeah, you get a bit of information, you can say thanks to a couple of people if they revive you, and that's about it. On PC though, the keyboard allows you to actually type messages that really help the team. Now you can see in this clip here that I get killed by a guy and quickly send off a message to the team, just letting them know where he is. This so that they have a better chance of killing him in a second when he goes after them. Now this might not directly benefit you, after all you're still dead, but it has helped your team to potentially win the game. It's left you with potentially more spawn points if squad mates stay alive, and if they're doing it as well, it will help you in the future. We are getting towards the end of the video guys, but before I end it I do want to just mention something a little bit weird, and you guys might think I'm crazy for this affecting me at all, but I found one of the things that was a bit odd of moving to PC gaming is that I'm now a lot closer to my monitor. And what that means for me is physically having to move my head to look at certain things. Now if you've played a bit of Battlefield 4, you'll know that the minimap is pretty much king in the game, and knowing where your enemies are at all times is just a brilliant way of beating them, getting the advantage and finishing the kill. And for me, when I was playing on console, that just meant glancing down to the bottom left corner, and that was it, and I knew what was going on from that. Now, moving on to PC, it means a slight movement in my head in order to do that, and I was totally forgetting about it initially. I was just sort of glancing and missing the minimap, and taking my eyes off the action at the same time, meaning that I gained no information and left myself vulnerable for a split second, meaning that the enemy had a greater chance of killing me, and I had the disadvantage in most firefights. So that little thing really mattered for me. It might not matter for you. It's just one of those odd little things that I found moving up from console to PC. And the final thought I'd leave you guys with is persistence. Don't give up, you will get there. You might have 5 or 6 or even 20 rounds or so where you play terribly, you get 1 kill to maybe 20 deaths or something like that, and it sucks, yeah, it sucks. And you may well be raging, but you will get there if you carry on trying and playing that way. If you can put up with dying a lot for a few rounds, you will eventually get to a stage where you're just as good on PC as you are on console. I now personally feel like I'm 99% of the way there. Yes, I do ever so slightly better on console, but I really enjoy playing on PC at the moment, and I don't feel like I'm at much of a disadvantage at all anymore. In fact, possibly the reason that I think I do that 1% better on PS4 is because I have all the guns unlocked, all the equipment, the straw and all that stuff unlocked on the PS4, and I just don't have that yet on PC. So maybe if I had those bits of kit unlocked on PC, I'd do just as well, and there'd be no skill difference whatsoever. Anyway guys, I hope this helped you out. If it did, I'd be really appreciative of a like underneath, or a subscription to the channel. That would really help me out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, I've been Nathan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.